I think the first thing that strikes people is this epic grandeur, the drama of the landscape.
Visitors are always impressed by the dramatic relief here in the International Peace Park. They see the mountains sweeping out of the prairie and they're struck by the beauty of the place.
The Peace Park is a very important place for me personally. It's where I go to renew my spirit. This is where I come and I really connect with the wild things.
The Blackfoot people, native to this place, call it the backbone of the world. At the narrow waist of the Rocky Mountains where Alberta, British Columbia, and Montana meet, sprawls one of the wildest, most beautiful places on Earth. This is the crown of the continent.
The crown of the continent, it is the heart of North America. We're in one of the most beautiful places on the planet where there's a convergence of natural beauty and heritage that's significant not just within this region, not just within North America, but on the planet.
At the heart of this wild nature lies an enduring monument to goodwill between Canada and the United States, Waterton Glacier International Peace Park. Established in 1932 by the U.S. Congress and Canadian Parliament, the Peace Park is a model now embraced across 5 continents. But the origin was a distinctly local idea led by small-town Rotary clubs in Alberta and Montana.
The origin of this park came from the passion and heartfelt sense of presence from the local people. It was the local people who said, this place is special. This place needs to be protected for people for all times.
The crown of the continent is the whole area of BC, Montana, and Alberta that surrounds Waterton Glacier International Peace Park. And the Peace Park is the jewel in the center that holds us all together, gives us a vision of how strong we can be together and how special it is to preserve what we have here.
The ecosystem doesn't recognize a border. The bears, the cougars, the elk that pass through our world have no knowledge of the border. We are one ecosystem, and it's important to recognize that, and that Canada and the United States work together to recognize the importance of the interconnectedness, not just of that one ecosystem, but of our nations, our countries, and ultimately our people.
One of the reasons we have this spectacular beauty and the wonderful wildlife we do is because we share that ecosystem and we try to manage it cooperatively.
When you stand on the hill at the Prince of Wales Hotel and you look up Waterton Lake, you see beyond all borders. You see that here nature truly knows no political boundary, and by working together we can embrace what that really means, which is integrity of ecosystems, which is integrity of wildlife habitat, which is free-flowing, wild, clean rivers. It's all those things that you can see and impact by working and living and preserving the Crown of the Continent area.
The concept of international cooperation to protect this place was born soon after Waterton Lakes National Park was established in Alberta in 1895 and Glacier National Park in 1910. The first superintendent of Waterton, George Kootenai Brown, would often philosophize with a ranger from Glacier, Albert Henry Reynolds. In such a place of grandeur, they agreed, the international border was artificial and unwanted.
No man-made boundary can cleave the waters apart. It would be better to accept nature's creation by removing the boundary line and acknowledging one park, one lake in its own territory.
It seems advisable to me to greatly enlarge this park. Many people here desire it. It might be well to have a preserve and breeding ground for wildlife in conjunction with the United States Glacier Park. I'm sure this step would be much appreciated by all sportsmen and nature lovers.
The vision of Albert Reynolds and Kootenai Brown began to be realized 20 years later with the creation of the Peace Park. And in 2002, Brown's long-standing proposal to expand the Canadian section into British Columbia was endorsed by the Canadian federal government. Today, this plan is under review by the province of British Columbia. The great majority of the Peace Park is wilderness, home to more bears than people. Yet more than 2 million visitors every year explore its trails, scenic roads, lakes, and rivers.
The number one reason people come to this areas to see the national parks. They're a big draw. Our visitors that we take out into the backcountry and on the rivers, they just have this awe and wonder when they see this place for the first time. They're truly amazed at the pristine beauty, and it's really the same views and vistas that people experienced 100 years ago, and it's the same views and vistas that we want people to see 100 years into the future.
The fact that Waterton Glacier International Peace Park is the very first one in the world is very special to us. Since the Peace Park has been dedicated, Rotarians have every year met at the border and symbolically shake hands across the border and pledge not to take up arms against each other. It goes back to 1932 when the park was established in between world wars, and the importance of us living peacefully with each other and experiencing that goodwill.
World Heritage Sites are the world's most special places. These are places of outstanding, universal cultural and natural heritage. And Waterton Glacier was added to this list in 1995 on the basis of it being both the world's first peace park and an outstanding example of the meeting of different climatic zones in the pinnacle of a continent.
The reason that I live here is because of the natural environment. It's because of what you see behind me. It's because of the sound of the river right next to us. It's those values that bring me to live here, that make me want to bring up my children here. My children can walk down to the river, see the natural environment, see the beauty around them, and they grow up right in that. And it's those values that I want to impart to my children, to that generation, and to ensuing generations.
If you look at the challenges facing Waterton Glacier International Peace Park, many of them are from outside the park. And these threats are real and they're imminent in terms of what they could mean for native fish, what they could mean for grizzly bears, and what they could mean for water quality.
Tribes and First Nations in both countries have increasingly added their voices to protect lands that have been under their stewardship for millennia.
You can't live without water. All the development they've done everywhere they've ruined the water. When I was growing up, I'd just go anywhere, and if I saw a stream, I'd flop down and take a drink out of there, you know. You can't do that anymore because they're all, you know, polluted, and even the mountains. And that's because of all their machinery and whatever they do up there. There'll come a time when they'll need water, and they won't have water. You can't drink gas or oil, and you can't eat money. That's the way I look at it, but you can't live without water. A lot of people don't see the beauty of the land. All they see is dollars. We lived without money, and we survived. Our people did.
We are charged with keeping a legacy here, and that requires making decisions that look into the future and don't look at the immediate gains that can be made from a short-term mine or this oil well today. We're really taking the step back and saying, what do we want this place to be like for our children and grandchildren? We have to prepare. We have to really look at how we can work together in a way across international borders and say, this is a national treasure that we all cherish, and how can we protect this for our kids and grandkids? That's, I think, what we're going to be remembered for.
It's going to take a great amount of effort from the communities around. It's going to take people with passion to keep picking up the charge to say, this is worth protecting, it's worth preserving.
One of the looming challenges facing the world and the crown of the continent, as much as anywhere, is climate change.
Some people actually sometimes refer to this as the park formerly known as Glacier National Park, because we will be, without any glaciers at all, they will all have melted by about 2020. We've got about 23 glaciers left, down from 150 of 100 years ago, and they're just melting very fast.
The melting of glaciers and glaciers certainly has a great symbolic value, but behind that is the changes in the hydrology and the water cycles that are occurring to cause that. Instead of getting snow in the winter, we're getting more rain. Everything is affected by that water table, and so While it certainly is a shame to lose the glaciers, losing the water storage capacity and the hydrologic changes that have occurred as a result are probably even more significant.
Despite the challenges, many scientists believe that the crown of the continent may be one of the most hopeful places on Earth for preserving wildlife and clean water.
I'm hopeful in the optimistic sense that if people who know what's at stake here can come together and make decisions that I think will benefit everyone in the long run. We're trying to figure out ways that we can put together adaptive strategies to be able to make our International Peace Park, the World Heritage Site, as resilient as possible and keep the entire area as viable both from an ecological sense but also from an economic sense.
The Peace Park is symbolic of wonderful things around the world, and it has expanded to all the communities in Montana, in British Columbia, in Alberta, who all work together and understand that we have something very special here that we can work together to preserve, enhance, and celebrate.
I feel deeply moved to have the opportunity to live and work here. And I look around at this incredibly magnificent landscape, and it always makes me reflect on the wisdom of those that came before us. The people who, over 100 years ago, when there was nothing but wilderness here, had the vision that this place and places like this needed to be protected for all times. And now I feel that that's our charge. We're here now to speak on its behalf so that these places maintain their true integrity through time.